Hello, it's Dr. Alan Yim. This evening I'm going to be talking about concert etiquette, what to do and not to do at a concert to make everybody enjoy it and to enjoy it yourself. So I'm going to begin with the things that you shouldn't do when you go to the concert. Of course, the most important one is to not make noise. The music is the most important part of it, so this means that you don't want to be shuffling papers around, opening a candy wrapper, taking a phone call, or snoring. And I have seen all of these things at concerts that I have attended, and they are quite disturbing. So arrive early so you don't have to walk in front of people to get to your seat in the middle. Oftentimes they won't let you do this, but be sure that you don't walk in front of people while the music is playing, either to leave or to enter. If you do hear people making noises, don't shh other people, because that shh sound is just as bad, if not worse, than the actual sound itself. You want to dress neatly, and not to disturb the people that are sitting next to you. I would not wear any perfume or cologne. There is nothing worse than sitting next to somebody who's wearing something that you have to smell through the entire concert that you don't like. I would also definitely avoid wearing any kind of clothing that is revealing. You don't want to wear clothes like you're going to go to the club afterward, or a tank top, or ripped shorts, something like this. Not only is it uncomfortable for someone sitting next to you, but it might be very uncomfortable for you, because these concert halls are usually cold. They're kept that way because the musicians have to be under hot lights, and they're working very hard, sometimes bowing or conducting. Playing these instruments takes a lot of effort sometimes, and if they sweat, they cannot play their instruments. So it may be quite cool, and you don't want this cold air blowing on you for 2 hours or an hour and a half, however long the concert is. You will be uncomfortable. Finally, of course, you should not text during a concert. You don't want to play video games, take videos, or pictures. This may seem obvious to you, but I have seen all of these things, and I wouldn't be saying them to you if I didn't think that any of these things might be within the realm of possibility. But you don't want to be that person who suddenly your phone goes off and you see a text and you start responding to it. It's disturbing. Okay, so what are the things that you should do? Well, first, I mentioned it before about dress. Many people want to know, what do I wear? Well, you don't want to look like you just came from the gym. So don't walk off the beach and go into the concert hall. Don't come from the gym. You don't want to be sweaty or dirty or disgusting in any way. You don't have to dress up. And depending on the type of concert, there are different levels that you could dress at. So the first is for something more casual. If the concert's outside, if it's on Miami Beach, if it's a free concert, and especially if it's an amateur group that's just presenting something very casually, or maybe if it's a kids concert, you don't need to dress up. And I have seen people wear shorts and sandals, t-shirt. To that kind of a concert, I think it's fine. Second, if you go to a more a paid concert, a ticketed concert that's indoors, you should dress better. So you don't want to dress any worse than I'm dressed right now. I would wear a polo shirt, a pair of pants, and slacks, or some kind of at least a decent pair of jeans, and some kind of shoes that aren't going to impede your walking into the concert hall. I would keep in mind that concert halls are usually made of wood. The floor is usually wood, and if you walk in and you have extremely hard heels or high heels and you have trouble walking in them, that may not be good for entering and exiting. Sometimes there are steps that you have to go up and down, so just keep this in mind in what you wear on your feet. Now, if the concert's something very fancy, like a fundraiser, or the opening night at an opera, or if the ticket price is very high, and by high I don't mean exorbitant, but anything over $100, you would have to dress up. I would recommend at least wearing a jacket, possibly a tie, a nice dress, possibly a tux if it's like an opening night at the opera, or a gown. These kinds of things are often worn at very high-priced or special events. Now, if you're not sure, I would err on the more dressed-up side. So it's never a problem to be overdressed. But if you're underdressed, you could be uncomfortable. If nothing else, I mean, at worst case scenario, you'll get a few bad stares and you'll be made to feel uncomfortable. And that said, if you go to a concert and you feel like you're out of place, you should just ignore that. If, for example, you're the youngest person there, you're the only person who doesn't have white hair, and people are looking at you. Well, they may be looking at you for a variety of reasons, but maybe the one reason that's really crossing their mind is, here's a young person at a concert, I didn't expect this, and while you're saying you didn't expect this, they're happy to see you, because we musicians, we like people in the audience, and if young people don't go to the concerts, pretty soon there won't be an audience. So classical musicians, who they themselves might be young, they want to see everybody in the audience. They want to see the audience to be full. And so they're happy to have you there. And other audience members who don't like that, well, that is really their problem. Now, arriving. Plan to arrive early. So plan for traffic. Plan for getting lost. Plan for a car accident. Anything can happen along the way. So my recommendation is to go and have a snack before the concert somewhere. Maybe sit at Starbucks and have a cup of coffee. I do this all the time. It also helps me sometimes if it's a long day and concerts are often at night. If I have a cup of coffee, I know I'm going to be alert during the concert, and I am not going to be one of those people snoring. And I will tell you, most concerts are, for me, I find them very exciting, but there are sometimes you go to a concert and it's not a good performance. It does happen, and the piece might be boring. So I don't want to fall asleep or be struggling to stay awake. So a lot of times I will have a cup of coffee before the concert, just as sort of an insurance that I enjoy it, and I'm going to be alert. So even if it's nap time, I'll be awake. Now, after you've had your snack and your cup of coffee, you walk to the concert hall. It's still time to sit down and relax, but before you sit down, you might want to consider going to the bathroom. Sounds ridiculous, but how many people are sitting in there and the second intermission hits, they run for the bathroom? And you don't want to be in the concert, sitting in your chair, you can't move, the piece is going on, maybe for another half an hour, and you have to go to the bathroom. You cannot get up and go to the bathroom unless it's an emergency. So I bring up this point because you don't want to be that person, and you don't want to be sitting there suffering because you didn't think to go to the bathroom before the concert began. So make that a point. If you're that type of person, do it so you don't have to worry about it while you're sitting there during the concert. You will be handed a program before you go in to the concert. Almost every concert, except maybe ones that are outside, they'll hand you a piece of paper or a booklet. I recommend getting there early enough so you can look through it and read it. That will give you some information. And I'll be talking about the program a little bit later. But give yourself some time to read the program and the notes. It might be a couple pages long. If you're taking notes for an assignment, I recommend using a pen and not a piece of paper, but maybe a book, a notebook, because it doesn't make noises so much when you're doing this. If you have a separate piece of paper, you just bring a loose leaf piece of paper, it's going to rattle around and people might get disturbed. And also don't use a pencil because when you're writing, it makes scratching noises. I have seen reviewers sitting in the audience taking notes, and they're very discreet. They sit there with the notes in their lap, and they have a pen, and very quietly they take their notes. So it's not weird to take notes at a concert. People do it all the time, so you shouldn't feel weird about that as long as you're not making noises. And on that, you can also take the program, and you can make little marks in it as well with your pen to show things that you remembered. And maybe you might write a little number by it, and maybe a little number in your notebook, and make a little thing like, hey, I like this moment here in this piece. I'm going to look it up later, maybe listen to it again, and that way you can make more detailed notes about what it was that you're hearing. Finally, make sure your phone is off. In every concert hall, they make this announcement, and most people know to turn off their phone. But there's always one person, I shouldn't say always, but it just tends to happen. Somebody has it in their purse, they forget, or it's always the least technologically savvy person, and they don't know how to turn their phone off once it starts ringing. So I shouldn't say it often happens, but it's not rare for a phone to go off at the worst possible time. And performers on the stage, though this is rare, it has been known that some performers stop the performance and will literally walk off the stage if this happens. So you don't want you to be the person that causes this. Again, it's extremely rare, but just make sure that your phone is completely off before the concert begins. And so you can enjoy it in peace and not worry about anything. I hope these tips help you, and I hope when you go to a live concert, a classical one, that you understand what is happening. I think the other one last thing I will say is if you're not sure when to clap, don't clap. Wait for everybody else to start clapping, and you won't be the person there that makes the single clap in the wrong place. Okay, I'll tell you one little story. So I had a student who went with their mother to this concert, and the music came to kind of this exciting point, and it stopped, and somebody in the audience did this, and of course some people giggled, and that should have been the end of it. But this student's mother loudly yelled out, "Oh, idiot!" I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so that's just something you don't want to do. You don't want to comment on somebody else's mistake. You don't want to be the person that makes the mistake. So wait for other people to clap. I think you'll have a great time, and listen to the music in silence with your own thoughts. And I will see you in the next video when I talk about the concert program. Thanks for watching.